Good morning, everybody. It is June 29th, 2012. It is the last Friday in June. Of course, that means the last Friday for the last video of June for our daily video discussions, Monday through Friday. And we start off today on a very stormy note with showers and strong to severe thunderstorms moving through much of central and southern New Jersey and also portions of Long Island. Well, rinse, repeat. Rinse and repeat. That is going to be the forecast on through, well, next Thursday. And I'm going to discuss with you, this is going to be a special video because I'm actually going to discuss with you what's causing all this heat, what's behind it, and why I'm not really expecting much of a change in the weather pattern for the next several days and possibly even several weeks. So first, let's start with what we have right now as of 8:53 a.m. And that is a very muggy atmosphere with temperatures already in the lower to mid 70s, dew points pushing up into the upper 60s, even a few lower 70s out there. And that means we are going to be very humid for today. And that's also going to allow our temperatures to really spike into the upper 80s to lower 90s right along the immediate coast. Mid to upper 90s away from the coast. If you're in the Philadelphia metropolitan area, do not be surprised to see temperatures touching 100 degrees in some locations. The skies are going to clear, so anyone who's dealing with some hazy clouds, should I say, and some overcast conditions from the leftover thunderstorms, well, those clouds are going to clear out, the sun's going to break out, and you're going to feel it because those temperatures are going to rise rapidly. So let's take a look at the water vapor satellite picture. This is really important, and the reason why it's really important here is that it's going to demonstrate pretty much what we can expect over the next several days. You see this westerly flow here in the upper level winds? Well, okay. Here we have our ridge, and it's building, and it's starting to push this cold front and this boundary further and further to the north. In fact, the northern plains is getting a small break in the heat wave, but that's not going to last very long because this warm front is charging to the north and east as this ridge builds. Well, while the ridge is building, we're going to be in a westerly to northwesterly flow aloft, and that's going to send these pesky little disturbances like this one this morning and this one here and this one here through the northern mid-Atlantic each day. Now, what that basically means is that we're going to see a threat for strong to severe thunderstorms late at night and in the early morning hours of, again, for tonight, again for Saturday, and again for Sunday. For the most part, we could expect dry conditions, okay, especially during the afternoon hours. Of course, on the flip side of that, with rain early in the morning, you're also going to be dealing with very humid weather conditions over the northern mid-Atlantic this weekend, and temperatures remaining well above normal in the, well, basically mid-90s for most locations. Some locations could push up into the upper 90s if we get enough sinking air over the northern mid-Atlantic, while other locations will remain in the upper 80s because of a sea breeze front right along the immediate coast. So if you want to stay cool-ish, I'm not going to say cool, but cool-ish compared to 95 degrees, it's better to be at 89 degrees, then I would suggest to remain along the coast, especially around Atlantic City, Belmar, Cape May. If you're on Long Island, you have a better chance of staying cooler. Still, temperatures in the upper 80s and high humidity isn't exactly the best feeling in the world, but it's certainly better than high humidity and temperatures around 95, leading to a heat index close to or over 100 degrees. Not exactly the greatest weather to spend outdoors unless you have a pool or a large block of ice. So this is pretty much going to be our weather pattern over the next several days. These disturbances will continue to try to move through. They'll continue to weaken as they move through. And in the afternoon, we will continue to clear out and our temperatures will continue to spike. What else can we expect? Well, as you can see with the infrared satellite picture, these thunderstorms are going to move very quickly. You can see one of the disturbances along the Delaware River quickly moving off the New Jersey coast. And you'll notice for the rest of the day, the clouds will start to clear out and you'll see a lot more sunshine. I'm expecting sunshine to break out throughout the entire northern mid-Atlantic by 11 a.m. And by noon, you will see temperatures really jump rapidly. This cold front here will wash out. This will produce another round of potential thunderstorms late tonight, like around 10, 11 p.m. on through 5 a.m., much like what we saw this morning. And this cold front really won't change much in the atmosphere aside from producing those thunderstorms, as it will break up, and the driving influence in the upper levels of the atmosphere, as I've shown in the water vapor, is for the ridge to build and basically override this cold front, and any type of polar modified air mass over the Great Lakes will be forced back into Canada. Now, I want to show something called the stratospheric temperatures. This is at 70 millibars, which is way up in the atmosphere. Why is this important? Well, despite what you might hear on the local television show, morning show, emails from political factions, this heat wave is not produced by your car. It is not produced by your plane, by the fact that you have air conditioning, or the fact that you like to go to a fast food restaurant. It is being produced by what's called a cold stratospheric anomaly. What that basically means is that the upper levels of the atmosphere are very cold. And when that happens, well, the atmosphere contracts. And unfortunately, when the atmosphere contracts in the upper levels, that means the atmosphere where we live expands. And when the atmosphere expands, well, that means we heat up. In the reverse, in the winter, when the stratosphere gets very warm, like it did 2 winters ago, we get very cold because our atmosphere contracts where we live. So as a result, well, we end up with very cold temperatures. So it's basically the opposite of what happened about 2 winters ago, where the stratosphere has remained very cold. This is where we should be, this dotted line right here. This is the cold anomaly. We were very cold in March and April, and remember during those time periods, we had incredibly above normal temperatures in the 80s, even some lower 90s, which shocked a lot of people in March and April. Remember that? Well, we're at it again. Once again, we're well below normal, and that leads to building 500 millibar heights. And that, of course, leads to heat waves. So this is why we've been so hot, and this is why it's going to be so hot over the Central Plains, and why we're going to remain hot over the northern Mid-Atlantic. Now, we won't have every week where temperatures are going to be in the 90s, but you'll see this pattern repeat itself several times. And it's going to continue to repeat itself until this driving force in the stratosphere starts to abate and we start to head towards normal temperatures or above normal temperatures, which I don't really expect until well, let's say late August, maybe September. As far as how the models are handling this, well, this is the GFS model guidance, and I wanted to show you this real fast because this is pretty much what you see on your 7-day forecast from your local news source. You have temperatures in the 90s, 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 and then upper 80s, and then by the time you get home in the afternoon hours, you see all these temperatures get pushed up. Why am I bringing this up? Well, the reason why I'm bringing this up is that these temperatures here, 98 in Philadelphia, 94 in New York City for today, were forecasted a couple days ago, about 4 or 5 days ago, to be in this level, upper 70s, upper 80s, should I say, lower 90s. Why am I bringing up this point? Well, I'm bringing up this point because in my forecast, and in the forecast you'll see at NY and JPA Weather, I'm keeping temperatures in the lower 90s at the very least. And the reason why is because the model guidance, especially the GFS model guidance, which tends to have a bit of a cold bias, just isn't catching on to this heat wave until it's too late. So these upper 80s that you're seeing for New York City for next week, and upper 80s that you're seeing for Philadelphia for next week, I would not be surprised if our temperatures are likely in the low to mid 90s. Why? Our pattern doesn't change, even on through Thursday. There's no significant change in the weather pattern. So why would I change the temperature forecast if the air mass isn't changing? The answer is you don't. And for the most part, I'm staying above MOS guidance and probably above what you're probably seeing on the newscast for next week. Well, this is the model guidance I am using. Now, I'm not following word for word, but I am using, it's called the European Model Guidance from the Penn State EWOL website. And take a look at the 500 millibar pattern and look how our ridge builds as we go through the next couple of days. As the stratosphere remains cold, our 500 millibar pattern continues to become enhanced and remains above normal. 588 decameters is very, very much above normal. and a very strong ridge. And that ridge remains in place over the central United States to the East Coast on through the next 5 days and continues on through the next 7 and 10-day period. This ridge doesn't change, the pattern doesn't change. We remain in this continuous pattern where we'll continue to deal with some disturbances trying to move into the northern mid-Atlantic, keeping a threat for a thunderstorm here or there in the early morning hours and late evening hours. But we remain with well above normal temperatures and a pattern that just doesn't show any signs whatsoever of changing. Keep an eye on this trough right here over the Pacific. Why? The deeper this trough gets, the stronger this ridge will get over the United States, and the warmer will remain, or the heat wave will remain over much of the United States. Now, there will be this little split here in the ridge, which is normal. All right, it's something that typically happens, but that does not mean we cool off, because notice that 850 millibars, our winds continue from the southwest, and a southwesterly wind basically forces an air mass from the Gulf of Mexico right up the east coast. So expect temperatures to remain well above normal, ranging from the upper 80s to lower 90s along the immediate coast, possibly some mid 80s if you get a strong enough sea breeze. Away from the coast, get used to the 90s, get used to the high levels of humidity, and get used to the threat for showers and thunderstorms in the morning. Well, I hope everyone enjoyed this bit of an enhanced discussion for today. As always, you can follow the latest weather information at NYNJPA Weather and NYNJPA Weather on Twitter and Facebook. I'm your meteorologist, Stephen DiMartino. Have a wonderful weekend, and of course, stay safe out there.